over to Kumar now. Kumar, do you see any opportunities in tier 2 or tier 3? That's one question. And do you see any new models of IT contracting emerging? Anything in your experience, anything that you do in your organization to harness models? Of course, everyone has heard uh, the basic, of course, IT manpower staff, just providing just people. Then we've heard about SOW. Maybe we can go into that a little bit more deeper if time permits. Are there any other models? I mean, are people offering managed services, IT, staffing companies getting to other kind of services? So could you could you take us through some of those pointers, and also tell us if there are any opportunities that you see in the tier 2 towns, cities?
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Anil. Of course, the majority of the transformation which is happening at this point of time in India, in fact, Kapil touched many of the points. Uh, so I would probably classify it into two parts. One is the physical infrastructure transformation which is happening throughout India, and then the digital transformation which is happening. When the digital transformations happens, it probably is selected around a few cities and probably expand slightly in a slower pace to the secondary cities or tier 2 and tier 3 cities. But when the physical infrastructure is changing, the landscape changes so fast, especially post COVID, if you really look at it, and the roads and transportations and the investments which are going in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and also is like kind of the every corner of the country. So what happens is there is a outlook itself changes, because now the cabling and the networking, the same level of bandwidth which is happening in the tier 1 cities is happening in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and much beyond tier 3 cities. And what's happening is the investment is also happening locally. With that, I think in the recent publications which are happening around the NITI Aayog study also shows that India is now poised into a very high spending in terms of building the infrastructure. By 2030, I mean, would have a lot more emerging cities than any other part of the world. That is one thing. And the second one is the lot more roads and constructions that takes place, physical constructions that takes place in India than anywhere around the world. So with couple of all these things which are happening, so the tier 2 and tier 3 obviously gaining the traction. The tier 1 is like, of course, has always been the main torchbearer in terms of the some of the niche technologies and also some of the niche areas where the skills which are required. But slowly and slowly, the what's happening around the world is like the manufacturing facilities are mostly now moving into the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. The reason being either the suburb of the tier 1 city or the tier 2 and tier 3. Obviously, because of the land parcels which are available, and the second one is the connectivity is already there, especially it is connected to the good airports, and also there is a road connectivity to the, of course, to the nearby ports and stuff like that. So, with coupled with all these changes which are drastically happening by the GCCs also investing a lot of companies in the manufacturing sector, that also holds one of the key growth area which are happening. So which means the tier 2 and tier 3 cities posing a very good opportunity for companies, especially when they wanted to invest and also grow in that area. And for me, it's like kind of one of the things which I always look at it. The study around that one shows that some of the MSMEs are thriving if they set up in a tier 2 and tier 3 rather than clustering into a tier 1, working with some of the and competing with some of the large corporations. So to slightly moving into the next part of the thing, I'll just post one statement. Now slowly the value, or I would say the differentiators for a particular company is diminishing, because every company has their own a unique identifier, but also is the other company coping up with this very quickly, so that it is diminishing the differentiators. But what is now differentiating a company is how good they are integrating with other companies. So that way it becomes easier for them to adapt to the changes, adapt to the situations, and also the go-to-market strategy becomes much more easier. There was one famous phrase which somebody was talking about. Either you can be a bull, or you can be a bee on a bull. In either case, like, you'll be moving. Your pace may vary, but still you'll make the changes, or the growth which you wanted to kind of get it. So with that being said, what's important right now is the models into the even into the staffing or the flexi workforce is slowly changing from the SOW based, or it's a managed capacity or anything, to slightly moved into a co-creating model. That is going to be one of the most emerging thing which is happening at this point of time, where large companies or large service providers, where they don't have the potential to serve in the local market, or they don't have the potential to establish everywhere where the supply is there. For example, now the talent supply happening from Kanpur, Patna, Bhagalpur, or Udaipur, Cuttack, Bhubaneswar, all these places is like kind of, it is very difficult for every company to set up the established practices there. And they look for the local service provider to talent search and hunt and things like that. And also the demand for them is not just concentrated on tier one, but now into some of the tier two cities, which includes Coimbatore, Salem, or Hosur, Mysore, or Noida, Kanpur, some of these places which are now becoming an emerging hub to kind of scout for the talent. So what happens is, like, the providers, if they are well positioned themselves as either sourcing those talents and providing the talents which are available to the places where they require most, and they can co-create some of these success models, I think probably everybody is looking for a talent, and it becomes much more easier. That's why the tier two and tier three cities, coupled with some of the co-creation and other models, is gaining tractions to kind of build the flexi staffing model, where it's 4.9 billion right now. But I would probably say, out of 56 billion GCC revenue and a 350 billion market, 4 billion in a global spectrum of 114 billion, I think, total revenue. It's a very, very insignificant place right now, what we have been servicing, but witnessing a very high growth within 2030. That's my take based on the recent NITI Aayog growth rate.